All right, in today's episode, I'm going to go over 10 truths that you need to know if you are trying to grow your glutes. Honestly, for any muscle group, but we're talking about the booty this month. So let's go ahead and jump right in to what you are going to learn today. But before we chip away at those 10 truths, if you have not signed up for my free 7-day Glute Goddess Challenge, you gots to do that, my friends. It is 7 days of training your glutes, not every day, but I take you through every single day so you know what you should be doing for an entire week if your goal is to grow your glutes. And I will take you through that process. It's in an app. You will get your workouts. You will get access to myself and a group of other like-minded women. Right now, there are over 200 women enrolled. Would love to have you as well. Make sure to check the link in the description for that sign up. And if you want, you can just pop over to bossbitchradio.com. And at the top says work with me. And down on the drop down is going to be glutes. And make sure you sign up for that. I'll see you inside. Today, we're going to talk about evidence-based guidelines that you're going to want to really pay attention to if your goal is to change the shape of your lower body, AKA sculpt your glutes, grow your glutes, build your glutes, whatever word you're going to put there, AKA hypertrophy training. I'm going to cover 10 key areas that most women are not aware of when they get into the gym to try to train their lower body. Very important that you know so you are not wasting your time in the gym. All right, now let's jump into the meat and motherfucking potatoes, friends. These are evidence-based guidelines for hypertrophy. So the experts all agree that these things are needed in order to change the shape of your muscles. All right, you ready? The first one, frequency is super important when it comes to changing the shape of your body. You need to hit those muscle groups more than one time a week. 2 times, evidence has shown that that is the sweet spot, is the twice a week model. Now, there are those that train glutes or any body part more frequently, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But as a standard rule of thumb, 2 times a week per muscle group. Okay, so if we're talking about glutes this month. So if you want to change the shape of your glutes, it would be in your best interest to train your glutes more than 1 time per week. Twice is ideal. We do 3 times in the Glute Goddess Challenge and all of our glute focus programs, but that is because we spread volume over the course of those 3 days. The second thing is volume, not like turn up the volume, but how many sets do you need per week in order to make change to said muscle group? So if you see any classic training program, I mean, it really depends on who you buy or get a program from, but you can see anywhere from 2 sets to some crazy programs I've seen, 10 sets. That is going to be your volume, okay? How many sets you're doing in a week of that particular or for that particular body part. So evidence has shown that we need 10 to 20 sets per muscle group in order to elicit change. Now, this is going to be based on a few things, one of them being recovery, right? When you're really new, you might only be able to handle 10 sets per week. As you get a little more acclimated in the gym, your body starts to adapt. You might be able to do 20 sets. Now, there are some studies that actually show some body parts can handle more volume than others, right? So the glutes, them bad boys, there are 3 muscles that make up the glutes. We have the glute med, the glute max, and the glute minimus, that make up that nice, big, round, juicy shape. And a lot of people miss the mark here when they go in to do body part training, specifically for something like the glutes. They only focus on 1 or 2 exercises, and they're really not getting the whole glute and targeting it as much as they need to for it to be effective. Now, you can go higher. I know that there are a lot of times that bikini competitors, I know that myself, I generally do well around a 28 to 32 sets per week volume, but that is because I am pretty spot on with my recovery. And that is going to be the factor that limits you from knocking out as much volume. I mean, you can most certainly train through your soreness and all of those things, but there is a point where it becomes counterproductive. Okay, the third thing is your effort. How hard are you actually pushing yourself within your sets? The problem that we see a lot of women come up against when we train them in person, and honestly, even in our coaching programs, is they aren't really quite sure how hard they should be pushing. And we teach something called the RPE scale, the rate of perceived exertion. And this is a great way for you to really gauge, how hard am I training? Is the effort I'm putting in the gym enough? Rather than just going through the motions because the program says 10 to 12 reps and maybe 3 to 4 sets, once you get to that fourth set and you're like, okay, I'm going to hit 12, you really have to start asking yourself within your training, okay, where am I at on that RPE? Could I do 5 more reps? Am I pushing it too heavy? Am I pushing it not heavy enough? And this is where it's a little challenging to self-regulate your training in terms of your effort. But with practice, this gets a lot easier. You start to know your body. You start to understand what an RPE of like an 8 feels like versus a 6. And I would have to say that the best way to learn this skill is with practice and time of a program that you do for an extended period of time in sequence. And we're going to talk about exercise order as one of these pillars, but this is going to be a great way for you to gauge week by week how your effort is and how your intensity is and when you should take it up a notch. All right, the fourth thing that is very important when you are looking at the things that are necessary for hypertrophy or growing your glutes, sculpting them, whatever your word is the load that you are using. The third one was effort, like how hard are you pushing within said exercise? And the fourth one is going to be how much weight are you using in order to elicit change? Here's what I'm going to say about this. All loads have been shown to build muscle. However, the heavier your loads are, generally, the longer your training sessions are going to take, and the more likely that your joints and your recovery are going to take a hit, right? Like your joints are going to get beat up a little bit. Your body's going to feel a bit destroyed. And then on the flip side of that, if you're using too light of loads, right? Like you're using super light loads and you're moving through the exercises really quickly without getting to that RPE of like an 8 or a 10, then you kind of turn it into a cardio workout, right? Then it becomes you're using a different energy system in order to get through that workout, which is going to be your cardiovascular system instead of your musculoskeletal system. So you want to focus on, you guessed it, good old-fashioned Goldilocks spot is finding that middle ground where you don't beat up your body too much to where you can't train for days afterwards. And you're not going so light that you're kind of just turning it into a cardio workout. So find that sweet spot and you got to work within that for the load, the amount of weight that you are training with. I will say bodybuilders, they find the Goldilocks spot. They tend to train in a more moderate load range. So that way they aren't beating themselves up too bad and their body's too bad to where they can't get back in the gym, the next day to maybe train a different body part or to come back and train that same body part a few days later. All right, the fifth thing is going to be exercise selection. Now, friends, I could go on for eternity and beyond in this topic, but I'm not going to, because we got limited time here, folks. But when it comes to your exercise selections, it is basically what exercises are you doing in your training program? And you have to think about several things. Number one is there are multi-joint movements. Multi-joint movements are basically the exercises in which you are using multiple joints to lift said weight. So think about a squat or a lunge, right? You are using the hip joint, you're using the knee joint. So those are multi-joints, which means you're going to be using a lot more muscle groups because more muscles are going to be recruited to execute that particular exercise. Now let's think about single joint movements, okay? That's going to be something like a bicep curl. The only joint that's moving is my elbow joint, right? It's not my shoulder and my elbow. This is like an exercise that doesn't even exist, but single joint is going to be exactly how it sounds. One joint is moving. And this is how we categorize exercises when it comes to creating programs. We focus on what multi-joint movements we need in a program and what single joint movements we need, because both are important, specifically if you are trying to build your booty. I'm a bodybuilder. This is what I've spent most of my life's work doing, is creating programs and executing programs that are going to have a lot of variety, because I am trying to build a muscle into a specific shape. If I was just carrying, if I just was trying to be healthy and it was, I just want to get in and move my body, I don't really care about aesthetics, this doesn't really apply as much. But if you are really trying to grow and build a specific muscle group, you have to get very strategic with the exercises you put into a program. All right, the sixth one is the order of your exercises. This is a very important guideline when it comes to hypertrophy. Let me explain, because I think this is another one that gets lost in translation, and a lot of people don't think it's a big deal, because they're just like, well, I did all the exercises in my program. Why does it matter which order they went into? Well, let me explain. Evidence has shown that muscles that are trained earlier in your training program have been shown to elicit better responses and results than if they are prioritized later in your workout. Let's say you have a workout in the Glute Goddess Challenge, and let's say we have a hip thrust, we have a lunge, we have a cable kickback, and we have hip abductors. Okay, let's just say that these are the four, because it's just easy, 4. So when you go into the gym and you're like, okay, I've got these 4 exercises, I need to knock them out. Let me just do what's free, like what machine is available. Sometimes that's necessary. Sometimes you're in a crunch. Sometimes that's just the nature of the beast. Some people are still pretty timid in the gym and they're not ready to go and ask somebody like, hey, how many sets you got left there, right? I get that. I've been the most awkward gym person most of my motherfucking life, okay? I don't care now, because booty gains are more important to me. You are going to pre-fatigue your muscles with those single joint movements, so that way when you get into the multi-joint movements, you're already going to be partially pre-exhausted in that muscle group. In this example, the glutes, that you're not going to lift as heavy. Your form probably isn't going to be as on point or perfect as it would be had you started with the multi-joint movements first, the big dial movers first. So when you get a program, at least from me or, our coaches, you will notice that the bigger heavy hitters, is what we call them, the big heavy hitters, are going to be at the start of your workout, and that is by design. We want you to try to follow that as best as you can in that sequence, because they are programmed, our programs are made with these things in mind. Next, number 7 is tempo. What is tempo? This is basically how fast or slow you are moving the weight from start to finish. That is going to be what tempo means. Tempo is really important when it comes to hypertrophy training, trying to change your body, when it comes to weight training, because this is how long your muscles are going to be held under tension in each rep. Now, there is such thing as too fast. There is such thing as too slow. The Goldilocks zone for tempo is about 2 to 6 seconds per rep. Okay. Fast and slow tempos have been shown to build muscle in those ranges from 2 to 6 seconds. Anything longer than that, you're kind of dragging shit out and you're becoming ineffective at that point. What I will add to this is the eccentric phase of an exercise, meaning the lowering phase, wherever you're fighting against gravity, right? So let's just, for the sake of this video, for those of you watching here on YouTube, let's say you're doing a bicep curl, right? As I'm lowering down, that is the eccentric phase. If you let gravity just do the job and not your muscles, you're also wasting a lot of time. So that is the one key, is that you don't want to just let gravity take control here. And the whole point of resistance training or, weight training is to hold that muscle under some resistance and some weight, right? So the weight and the actual speed or tempo of how you move that weight is incredibly important. So 2 to 6 seconds per rep. And that is your Goldilocks spot. All right. Another huge offender that I see with women in the gym is rest periods. So this is number 8, your rest periods. Rest periods between your sets. So let me give you another example. All right. Let's go back to the butt because I love butt stuff. Okay. Don't be a pervert. We are doing a hip thrust in this example. And let's say you are on your second set. You've done maybe 2 warm-up sets, and now you're on your second working set, right? This is where it should be hard and heavy, and you're at that RPE of about an 8, really pushing within this set. And now you're done. You're done with set 2. You're ready to do set 3. As soon as you're done with that last rep of set 2, I want you to start your rest period, right? 2 to 3 minutes is ideal for maximal muscle growth. But I will also say that as you get further into your workout, you may be able to shorten that to about a 90-second rest period if you're in the smaller, more accessory single joint movements. So let's use the hip thrust as an example. You finish set 2, you get up, you change the weights. This is all included in your rest period, right? Your 2 to 3 minute rest period. Change the weights, and then you sit back under the bar and you check your watch, make sure you're ready to go. And once you've hit about 2 minutes, ask yourself, is my breathing still labored? Am I going to be able to push as heavy as I can in this set and finish as many reps as I have a goal for in my head, right? Whatever your program says. Or am I going to still be trying to catch my breath? Okay. If the answer is I'm going to still be trying to catch my breath, sit your ass down for another minute. Okay. Scroll on, I don't know, Instagram, TikTok, do something. Wait, pick your nose, blow your nose, pop some gum, change your music. I don't know. But don't get impatient, because what happens is I see women do this all the time. We see them do this at the studio where they're like, okay, finish that set. And then these are usually newer women to the studio. And a lot of times this happens when they're in after their first and second set, which is like their warm-up set, right? We take them through a couple warm-up sets, and they're like over in the corner doing jumping jacks. And we're like, what are you doing? And we're like, oh, I'm waiting for the next person so I can, do another set. I'm just trying to burn some calories. Stop doing that. Stop it. Just please fucking stop. Okay. This makes me absolutely motherfucking crazy. Unless you're trying to include some conditioning for a sport or something like that. But if you're just simply trying to grow your glutes, build your booty, whatever, stop doing weird random shit in between your weight training exercises. I get so ranty about this if you haven't already noticed, okay? Because I've seen it like at least 20 times in the time that I've been a trainer, and I see it all the time in the gym. Ideally, you want to just listen to your body, okay? If your body is telling you, bitch, do some jumping jacks, don't listen to your body at that point. You just need to know that you need to go heavier on your next set. So if you got through, let's say that in this same example, in set 2 of your working sets, and you got to 15 reps, let's just say perfect form, magnifique, you look great. You got to 15 reps and you're like, I don't really need 2 minutes to rest. I feel like I could probably do another 15. That is your indication, bitch, that shit's too light. So get your ass up, throw some more weight on there, and then that should slow your ass down to where you are earning your motherfucking rest, okay? Earn it, and you will earn the booty, promise. So earn your rest, 2 to 3 minutes. If you're feeling like you have to push that rest out to 3 minutes, then maybe you're pushing a little bit too hard. You might want to scale back a little bit. So this is how you start to learn how to self-regulate your training sessions. The 9th thing that is incredibly important when it comes to hypertrophy training, changing your glutes or any muscle group, is your training split. What is a training split? It is basically how you are breaking up your body parts throughout the week. There are so many different methods out there. There is a body part split, which is something you'll see very commonly in the bodybuilding space. This is how I train. And this is because I'm training for aesthetics. Yes, I'm also training for strength, and that is a byproduct of my training for aesthetics. But body part splits are going to be tailored mainly for those that are really wanting to focus on growing or prioritizing a specific body part. Then we have things like a push-pull lower, which you see a lot of people doing as well. Then we have like a total body program where you hit every muscle group maybe a few days per week, which is more of like a generalized, I don't like to think of it as a beginner program because I think advanced people can use this too very well and methodically. But if you just want to overall full body workout, some people do that a few times per week when it keeps it interesting for them. So this is what basically your training split breaks out to be. Now, all of them can be incredibly effective. It just really depends on what your goals are. If your goals are, I really want to just be strong overall and train my whole body, and I'm not really worried about aesthetics a ton, just really overall full body stuff, you can do full body workouts. You can also do body part splits if you have enough time throughout the week to split that up, which that is what us bodybuilders do because we're generally in the gym often enough for our bodybuilding goals that we like to split our body parts over the course of 5 to 6 days. So that way we can hit multiple muscle groups twice per week. Okay. So that is a big reason why you'll see some bodybuilders in the gym 6 days per week is because they're usually hitting every muscle group twice. Okay. And that's how they split it. And that's how they can get all that volume in over the course of a week and avoid overtraining. Lastly, is periodization, which basically is your programming strategy. And there's so many ways that this can be done. And quite frankly, this is how we keep things interesting. And when I say we, I speak broadly as a female bodybuilder or someone who's associated as being a bodybuilder is a lot of people get shiny object syndrome and they want to go into the gym and they want to change their workout every week, right? They don't ever do the same workout twice and they'll boast about it. Shit was getting serious. I had to put a ponytail on. Periodization is just how we keep shit interesting in the gym with giving us goals within that program block. Okay. So you can be in a strength building periodization, right? Like my daughter has her program Build with Beast. That is purely a strength and building program. So that is going to be the focus of that program. You're likely going to see things like lower rep ranges and goals of like progressively overloading specific exercises within that program every week. Then we have other things like muscle size, and that could be something very similar to like my glute program where we're just trying to grow the glutes, fill up the glutes so there's less fat there, there's more muscle there. Then there are other different periodization techniques that you'll see like power lifters do, power builders. So this is just what that program entails. What is the goal of said program? That is going to be your periodization. And with that in mind, a plan is way better than just walking into the gym and winging it, okay? Don't be that person. Don't be that. Don't be an asshole. The other great thing about periodization is it helps prevent burnout. Now, like I was mentioning earlier, bodybuilders, we can pretty much live on the same 12 to 15 exercises and create a fucking fantastic physique. However, when you've been doing it for over 10 years, almost 20 years, you could get a little stale. It could get a little mundane and feel like, okay, here we have another lat pull down, right? You can go in different phases so you prevent that burnout. All right. So those were your 10 evidence-based guidelines for hypertrophy training. Specifically, we're talking about the booty here. You want to think about all these things. And just to recap, I'm going to give you all 10 real quick just to rejuggle those marbles in your brain. Frequency, volume, effort, load, exercise selection, exercise order, tempo, rest periods, training split, and periodization. And there you have spirit fingers for the best booty around. So those 10 things are super key when you really want to make a change in the shape of your body. And y'all know that's what I'm here for. Obviously, health and wellness comes along with that. But if you all are trying to change the shape of your booty, shape of your body, I'm your girl. So with that, you will not want to miss the 7-day Glute Goddess Challenge that is starting August the 26th. Now, if you're listening to this after August 26th, you will still want to get on the wait list for when we launch it again, okay? I am in the process of tying up all of the loose ends for a 6-week glute program that will be coming very, very soon and will be open to the girls that finish the Glute Goddess Challenge first. And it's going to be 6 weeks of pure booty building focused training. I'm going to be your coach. It's a group program. We're going to go through this shit together. You're going to work through it every single week with the same program. You cannot have shiny object syndrome. If you do, I'm not your trainer. If you're going to come to me and say, is this what I'm supposed to do for the whole 6 weeks? Yes, bitch. Yes, you are. And every week, your goal is to get better. Your goal is to record some of these exercises and put them in the private Facebook group so I can personal train you and audit them and tell you if you're doing them right or if you're going heavy enough or if your form is incorrect. And we're going to guide you through that as well. We're going to give you some hints and tips and a lot of nutrition-based goodies as well. So you're going to have an opportunity to really focus on your glutes for 6 weeks. We are going to toss an upper body workout in there as well for you, but this will be a glute-focused program. So get on the Glute Goddess Challenge. Y'all will have first dibs when I open up that new glute program, and we're going to crush this together. All right? I love you guys. Hopefully this episode was helpful. If you have a friend who loves glute building stuff, make sure to send this to them so they know whether they're on track or whether they're not for their training. And I would, I'd love you forever. Another unicorn will just blossom their glutes into the glute sphere somewhere. I don't know. That's just how we roll. We're glute unicorns. All right. I love you. Till next time.